This game is probably the most controversial RNG game on Roblox, and it's called Pets Go. It was made by no less controversial studio, which goes by the name of Big Games. The studio is known for their biggest simulator series on the platform, with one of them being Pet Simulator X. It has almost 9 billion visits, making it the biggest simulator game on Roblox. And with such successful simulator series, they would have to make spin-offs. And they did, with Pets Go being first one, which, if you were to check today, has the lowest player count it ever had. That is because the last update that the game had was all the way back in June. The update was just a part 2 for an already existing thing with auras, nothing special. But there was one thing that was special, but never actually happened. The Pets Go Season 2. Big Games teased players with a Season 2 for this game ever since the Part 1 farm update. It said that next update would be about Season 2, but a week passed and instead players got a Part 2 of the farm update, with a note that Season 2 will happen next week. But not even a week later, Big Games make this post on Twitter, with a reply to it saying that Season 2 has been postponed indefinitely. And as you understand, Season 2 never ended up happening because Pets Go stopped getting updated. The game's description was changed. Right now it looks like this, but before it used to say that the game updates weekly. And if that changes, it's never a good sign for a game in this case. And how did people react? Well, many were actually glad Big Games moved on from Pets Go, and there are reasons as to why people dislike that game. The most obvious one is pay to win. Big Games are not only known for their Pet Simulator series, but also how they handle the pay-to-win part of their games, and let me tell you, Pets Go has probably one of the worst cases. But thing is, the game wasn't always about pay-to-win gambling. It actually started off pretty chill. The release of this game only had 3 game passes: Lucky, Ultra Lucky, and Hyper Dice, which overall wasn't anything crazy. There also were some developer products, with one of them being the Double Luck, which sure could get very OP, but it also would cost you a lot, so not many people could go for it. But Pets Go didn't appear out of nowhere. It actually was made based on a pretty free-to-play event in Pet Simulator 99, which I feel like is why this game was free-to-play at first too. Pet Simulator 99 had many updates, but probably the most successful one out of all was the RNG event. The increase in players can easily be seen on the graph. The game basically doubled the players for 2 weeks while the event was there. And Preston, on his Twitter account, made a poll asking people if they wanted a standalone game. Well, you know the answer already. The teaser got millions of views, and on release easily had over 100,000 players all the time. So with release being good, the updates weren't following the same path. The second update is what changed this game completely. The double and triple dice game passes were added, as well as this thing called God Potion. What it did is increase the luck by some insane amount. But if you had, let's say, triple dice, it would affect all 3 rolls, making it even more OP. This alone already started to make people quit the game, but Big Games did not want to stop. Literally, the next update they added a whole 3 new game passes, which are 3 extra pet equips, double coins, and most importantly, Penta Dice Game Pass. People were not happy, and it's noticeable. When the second update came out, people were pretty unhappy with how much more pay to win the game became. And with the next update, which I just mentioned, well, not much have changed. One thing was good though: God Potions actually became obtainable for free-to-play players. Fourth update had this secret chest, which could drop God Potions. But there is a catch. Big Games actually silently nerfed those God Potions. And this is far from the first time they actually silently nerfed stuff. Back in early 2024, Preston even made a post talking about that and saying it's false. Well, he wouldn't say anything else as the owner, but definitely would have been better not saying anything. But the game continued to update and slowly lose more and more players. And in December 2024, there also was a lot of discussion about the bot problem on Roblox. Basically, bots, which you can still easily find in some games, like Bubblegum Simulator Infinity, are used to farm items and pets and then sell them on black market. You definitely have heard about them already before. So what that means is, While the, let's say, 150,000 players on release were real players, the 80,000 in December were at least half bots, which also shows that many people have quit the game already by then. So remember the Penta Dice Game Pass? Well, Big Games added a dozen Dice Game Pass later on too, which in total would cost you quite a lot. And since huge pets became too common, they also introduced Titanic pets just 2 months after releasing the game. You know, this statement about huge pets being super rare really did not last long at all, which is definitely a bad thing. Moving on to the past months of the game, if you were to check the player graph, you can see this jump here. That's when these 2 updates came out, and the reason people liked them is because they were free to play. So at least sometimes Big Games would make pretty free-to-play updates, but overall, as you understand, the game was going downhills. Huge eggs were introduced, which guaranteed a huge pet, but a random one. The same thing later also happened with Titanic pets, which are meant to be the best pets in the game. Slowly, the game got a lot more pay to win, and since we got Robux eggs added too, there basically was everything from Pet Simulator and even more. I think you can tell the state of the game really wasn't the best. But what made it even worse is how Big Games started to copy trends and turn them into updates in their games. Although I think it did not affect Pets Go as much, they still did updates related to garden and fishing as example. And honestly, making updates based on trends isn't a bad thing, but the famous response from one of the members of the studio just made it worse. Specifically the part about being creative enough to come up with your own ideas. So going to May this year, Pets Go was really low on the player count. So Big Games decided to tease players with Season 2 of the game, which I mentioned earlier in the video already. Season 2 was probably made to try and revive the game at least a bit, but as you know, it was delayed a few times and never actually ended up releasing. So Pets Go no longer will be updated. Again, going back to the game's description, it used to say weekly updates, but now that part is removed. Not too long after Pets Go was stopped being updated, a new game based on Pet Simulator was made by Big Games called Steal a Pet. That game ended up only receiving 1 update, but I do think it could have easily lived longer if it had any updates. So I'm sure you know many weird things been happening with Big Games lately. We had some say that Preston left Big Games, which later was proven false by one of the developers who gave us some answers. Someone asked, what is happening with Pets Go and if Season 2 will release? Joe answered that they instead spent time on Steal a Pet to take a break from both Pets Go and Pet Simulator. And honestly, with the amount of players this game has right now, I highly doubt they would ever want to return to it. The game did not get to 1-year anniversary, but it did last about 8 months or so. And after all the stuff I've mentioned, I think it is fair to call it the most controversial RNG game on Roblox, with loot boxes in form of eggs and overall just some extreme pay to win. So with all of that, I think it is fair to say that this is actually the end of Pets Go. From the looks of it, Big Games won't ever return to this game since it has very low player count for them, and overall Big Games definitely not looking like they are going to be making anything soon. One of developers did tease a return with Pumpkin Cat Pet, but I'm 100% sure this is about Pet Simulator and not Pets Go anything like that. Anyway, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would really appreciate it. You can watch one of these videos while waiting for a new one. They are good too. Join my Discord server. You can chat with me and other members. The link is in description, and I will see you soon.